I'm sorry for picking on you. I can't, or Albert
No,
or someone.
no problem. I'll define scalability as the ability to adjust to changing load.
Yes, yes, certainly, yes. So it's the ability to handle increasing workload. So when creating an architecture for a network environment, you need to consider scalability of that environment to make sure that, for example, if there'll be a web application that will be hosted in that particular environment, whichever traffic that's coming in, that it will be able to scale out to be able to make sure that the app is running seamlessly without any interruptions. Then there's something called modularity, which is more or less the same as segmenting your resources into subnets. So that will make sure that you are able to run your components or your resources with more flexibility, and you'll be able to maintain your resources or monitor them easily. So the other one is fault isolation. So the same case, when you segment your resources using subnets, you'll be able to limit the impact of failures on the overall system. So yes, these are some of the few things that you need to consider while doing an architecture for designing a resilient cloud network. So, what are some of the best practices for building a resilient cloud network? The first one is automated deployment. I had said earlier on that we need to use automation tools to reduce manual errors. The best practice is advised or recommended that we, avoid doing things ourselves, and try use automation tools that have been provided, by any particular CSP. The other one is you need to regularly test and validate your network resilience and identify any weaknesses within your environment. The third but not least is monitor and alert your environment. You need to proactively detect and respond or even mitigate any issues that you find within your network environment. So, how do you ensure high availability in your cloud networks? The first is the load balancer. As I had said, a load balancer is used to distribute traffic, across multiple servers. So case scenario, if you have a web app in that particular environment, you'll be able to access it easily with less downtime and everything works seamlessly. The other one is a fault-tolerant server, which means that if you have redundant servers, they'll handle failures. Say, case scenario that I had explained earlier is trying to distribute your resources or even servers across very different availability zones to avoid failures. So in case one region fails, you'll be able to access your resources in another particular region. So the other one is traffic redirection. You can automatically reroute traffic in case of any failures. Albert, could you explain to us how you can reroute traffic in case of any failures?
Hello. Okay. Hope you can clearly hear me. In terms of rerouting traffic in case of any failure, yeah, I'm looking at it using load balancer. With the load balancer, they are doing health probes, so they are able to tell if the workloads, in this case, maybe servers behind this load balancer, if it fails, that is, the health probe detects that it has failed, it will be able to reroute this traffic based on the routing that you have configured on your load balancer. So by doing so, you're able to reroute your traffic when some part of your network has failed. Thank you.
Okay, sorry for that. So yes, certainly. Thank you, Albert, for answering that. So we'll go ahead and discuss about how we need to manage failover and disaster recovery. Sorry, in your cloud networks. Excuse me. So the first is backup and restore. So you regularly back up your data and have a recovery I'm so sorry for that. I said it's a disclaimer. I come from the Mount Kenya region, so ignore the L's and the R's. So you need to regularly back up data and have a recovery plan. So the other point is replication and synchronization. So you need to maintain synchronized copies of your data across multiple locations or regions. The last but not least is the failover testing. As we had discussed, we need to simulate failures to ensure failover mechanisms work. So you need to once you do a failover, you need to test, make sure whether you'll be able to recover your work once, a failover or a failure may occur in your environment. So, securing your resilient cloud network, you need to encrypt your data both in transit or at rest. You also need to implement, access control policies where you're able to, allow only authorized users to access your resources. The other way you can secure a resilient cloud network is intrusion and detection prevention. So you need to regularly monitor and block any malicious activity within your environment. The other thing is we need to measure and monitor the resilience of a cloud network. The three of them are the network uptime, the response time, and the incidence response time. So who else? Sami, you are there. Could you pick someone who could explain to us the, what is RPO and RTO from the session?
Again, let me put someone on the spot. RPO and RTO. I'll throw it to Emmanuel Carissa. Hi, Carissa. You're the one I'm putting on the spot for this one. All right. Mayo, yes, you can go.
Yeah, that I think we are to define RTO and RPO, right?
Yeah, sure.
So what I get is the recovery time. So it's the time that it takes, the maximum time it takes for you to restore normal operations, and RPO is the amount of data, the maximum amount of data that say your organization can lose, yes, without any issue. Yeah.
Yes, certainly that's the definition. I would also want someone to, give us ways we can, measure network uptime with any cloud service provider, be Azure or AWS or even GCP.
And another volunteer. So when you talk about network uptime, Martha,
Yes.
so and the tooling as in this case, that's a tough one. But I'd say, for example, in Azure, we could go with not really, but this one doesn't measure network uptime, but rather just helping in troubleshooting and so forth. Network watcher.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Give us a cheat sheet for that one.
Could you explain briefly what the network watcher does in Azure?
All right. So network watcher, one, there are a number of things you can do with using the network watcher resource. So one, you can if, for example, you've configured an user-defined route, but you are experiencing problem, you could use it to identify from a certain instance how does a certain instance send traffic? Like, what is the next hop? What is the next hop when traffic leaves a certain VM? And then you get to know if you had routed that VM to go to a certain maybe as network virtual appliance, and you get the next hop as a different IP, be the VPN gateway, then you know the problem. And then it also has features like IP flow verify, where you get to know what is traffic being allowed to flow from this direction, maybe inbound to a VM or outbound. It has things like NSG diagnostics, where you are able to analyze what network security group is affecting traffic that is moving from a certain endpoint to going to another one.
Great. Thank you so much for that. I believe everyone has heard that. So, yes, those are some of the ways you can use, can be able to measure and monitor your network environment, a resilient one to be specific. So, there is network uptime, which is used to measure the percentage of the time the network is operational. Then there is response time, which is used to monitor the time taken to respond to requests. And last but not least, there's the incident response time, which is used to measure the time taken to resolve network issues. So that will be the end of my presentation. It wasn't technical. It was just, an overview of what a resilient cloud network could be or should be. And now I'll give you a chance, or 5 to 10 minutes to ask questions or add on to something to this topic, so that we are all able, to learn from this particular topic. Anyone? Sam, if you could check for me, you'll be my eyes today.
Sure. All
Yeah.
here.
Yeah, sure.
I can see Emmanuel hand is up. Carissa, you can go.
Hi, Viva. Really nice presentation there. Okay, mine is just to share my thoughts, or maybe to gather everyone's input in this. How do you see the native monitoring services, especially network monitoring services, as compared to other third-party services? By third-party, I would say things like Zabbix, and that sort of thing, SolarWinds and those types of things, in terms of maturity and cost, and what's the trade-off?
Martha, would you like to take that first?
Anyone in the group could assist me.
Was I even audible? Maybe I was not really audible. Sorry.
No, you are. If I can just reiterate, what you're asking is...
Hello?
Hello?
Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Anyone from the session could, assist with answering this question. That's okay.
Because my personal feeling, let me go faster. My personal feeling is that the cloud native tools to monitor resources, infrastructure in general, and networking in particular, do not give us really good insights when we compare to third-party resources. That is my personal feelings. Again, the problem will come with now having to get into engaging licenses and hosting for the third-party resources, while already you have cloud native resources. So that is my personal feeling. Maybe if you could get insights from others.
All right, thanks for that, Kennedy. I think I also agree, and I agree with that sentiment in terms of not just the network, but in general, most of these cloud native monitoring services do not give as much insights as possible. And for me, I think though you can still work with them, they fit a lot of business use cases, maybe in just rare occasions where people need more granular insights into or more granular view of how workloads are running in the environment. That's when maybe the third parties will come in. But the reasoning behind it is, again, if for a company like SolarWinds, for example, this is just a company that has specifically focused on creating on the network monitoring aspect. So they definitely, the granularity or the depth in which they can give you some insights into how your workloads are running can't be compared to the services that have just been that are not as curated. Like you look at it as not a lot of focus has been put into developing that service. It's because the vendor is looking at a lot of things. Yeah, so the scope and depth of the monitoring capabilities is what matters. For going with cloud networks, I'll say it's ease of deployment. It's very easy to enable network monitoring using the native cloud tools, as opposed to now bringing in the third party.
Hi, Sam. It was not
Yes.
me who commented. It was Emmanuel. I think you confused me because
Okay.
I had started and Emmanuel came in.
Okay.
And I think you've took the words out of my mouth, a huge part of it. But just something that I wanted to add, and to add on what Emmanuel commented, is that most of the native monitoring solutions, for example, the ones you're giving SolarWinds and some PRTGs and others, they are able to interact with many cloud providers at the same time. Because, for example, if you're putting up networks, it's more and many occasions that will be connecting not only in one cloud environment. You might need to be connecting from a cloud environment to another, from a cloud environment to on-premise. And most of the time, the cloud native monitoring solutions will not be able to give you an end-to-end view of how network packets are flowing on any environment that is coming from one to another. Most of the cloud providers, for example, maybe Azure or AWS, will have a monitoring solution that is native to them and have a limit on how far they can be able to go and give you a troubleshooting process on the whole of it. And that's why maybe the tools like Zabbix, the one Emmanuel mentions, comes in play, where you can be able to have a 360 view of your entire environment and gives you a better and ease of management. So I would agree, but somehow the ones in cloud also assist and are a little bit free and cheaper than implementing any other monitoring tools. So my take would be it depends with the context on what you're looking at and what you need to use the monitoring solution for. So it's something very open for discussion and even on anything that you would want to, the context that you want to apply the monitoring solution in. So that's my take.
Yeah, okay. Thank you, Kennedy. And I think important is the third party, how the third party come in, especially when you're connecting different environments on-prem and it's on-prem different clouds. Yeah, they work, they'll provide more value. But again, I think another thing is on integration, because something like Azure Monitor will help you integrate into the security center, play some part on the security score, but now on the others could be an issue. Yes, Emmanuel.
So the other question would be, how do you handle log storage, especially network log storage, because they can be awfully, they can grow awfully very fast, and in the cloud perspective, they can be really, really expensive to handle the storage, especially that is coming from network logs.
Good question there, Emmanuel. Would like to get some views from any other person in the meeting. Was some thoughts around that logs? But my view will be for network logs. Okay, everything to do with the logs, the back sort of the data studio is the log analytics workspace, right? Even for the network logs. So in terms of capping the log ingestion, it could be a bad thing or a good thing, yes, but to have things like on the log analytics workspace, putting things like daily caps, one, and then considering your retention, the retention time, you could, because the more the days you retain those logs, the more the cost you incur. So for the network for those logs, you could have a lower retention policy maybe, and that might reduce the cost, and maybe even on the log analytics workspace, making use of commitments on. So if for example you sure the network logs are 100 gigs per day, you could just make a commitment. Helps you save around even up to 25% of the cost. Yeah, but I still do agree on the logging aspect. It greatly affects the cost. That yes, Mark,
Yeah,
you want to add something?
Just go ahead. I just wanted to ask if that fulfills Carissa's question.
All right.
Yes, it does matter. It's really interesting there, especially the how to handle logs and the storage. Currently, it's a very big nightmare, especially if now you have regulatory needs where maybe you have to store logs of your environment for like 1 year or something like that. It can really be hectic. Yeah, it can really be hectic. Yeah.
Okay. So currently, how are you? What are there some ways you've gotten to just to alleviate that?
I'm actually thinking of exporting the logs to some on-premise server somewhere. I haven't done it yet, but clearly I can't handle the cost that it comes with storage of network logs. For really, it is really astronomical. If you're familiar with 40, what is this? Not 40. Not, okay, 40 analyzer, you would know exactly. Yeah, you would know exactly the kind of logs that that kind of server generates or needs for it to operate. So it's really hectic for sure. For sure.
Okay. I can see Albert's hand is up.
Okay, thank you, Sam. I just wanted also to maybe say some 1, 2, 3 things. It can help in this case. To me, when it comes to maybe injecting a lot of logs, but I'm not doing maybe actively hunting in these logs or using these logs in the actively, I'll think about instead of choosing a log analytic workspace as my default destination, I'll choose to channel these logs to a storage account. As compared, the log analytic workspace is a quite an expensive solution, and you can normally think of it when you're really actively using these logs. You are really dipping or hunting into these logs, but just you having logs that you want maybe to have for compliance purposes or storing it for a long time. I'm thinking about now in these while you are setting your diagnostic settings, you can choose to designate it to a storage account, and also the third party where you can integrate with the third party solution. And yeah, in this case, I feel that one could be a good idea. This log you send to a third party solution. Yeah, maybe that can help in that aspect. Yeah, thank you.
Certainly, Albert. That's actually what is recommended to be done. In case for Carissa who wants to retain the logs for, like an year, then he'll need to channel it to, a storage account. Even for security logs, when you're using Microsoft Sentinel, it's also the same thing that we normally do. If you don't want to, actively query, or even hunt anything, in the log analytics workspace, you are just advised to, to store the logs in a, storage account. If you're not actively, doing anything with the logs. So yes, definitely that will help. So over to you, Carissa.
Yeah, thanks for the insights, guys. Thanks for the insights.
All right. Do we have any other questions? Any other comments from the audience? Mm-hmm. All right. Okay,
Hi.
Dominic. Yes.
So maybe I heard you guys talking about the logging. So it depends what kind of logs you guys want to log. So at some point you can decide on some solution. I'm not sure if it's all solutions, but on some solutions you can decide what kind of logs you want to log. There are logs that are unnecessary that you don't need to log, so you don't need to fill up your disk space or whatever your storage is. So the best practice is just to go through your setup and then just say to log maybe the necessary logs, because most of these guys who keep their logs for a longer period, maybe it's for auditing purposes. I've seen a number of organizations, at least they need to keep them for like maybe 6 months. Maybe after 6 months, you can put them to your local storage. And then if you need to use them later, maybe there is something you need to audit on, you can just do some indexing back. I had someone mention on analyzer, the 40 analyzer. So it just receives logs from the firewalls or from elsewhere, and then it does the indexing and then the rest of those kind of things. So it depends. So in terms of disk space, it's upon you, and it also depends on the how big the organization is. So if the organization is bigger, then you'll have to go for a bigger disk space or which can accommodate the logs you guys are generating, and then you can decide to limit or log what is necessary or what is important to within your organization. So you don't need to log everything. Yeah, and then third party, you can also add if you see your analytics, whatever is doing an analytics of in terms of the logs. If you see it's not enough, you can opt to add something like a SIM solution, because it can as well help. So yeah, back to you.
Okay, Dominic. Thanks for that as well, and that contribution. Really, there's something to think about as well. So I hope I'm not knocking anyone out because of time. I'll take it back to our speaker, Martha. First of all, thank you, Martha, for sharing that presentation. A number of key points to note there, and I'd like you to, as your parting shot, just tell us if anything you were to take out of this presentation. What would you like us to? What are the two things you'd like us to really action on as we develop or as we think about creating different network resources in the cloud or just administering networks?
Certainly. Thank you so much, Sam. So, while building resilient cloud networks, most importantly, we need to make sure that the network environment is secure. From authorization and authentication of users who are from deploying firewalls, from using any tools in any cloud service provider, just to make sure the network is secure. Those are the most important things that we need to deploy to make sure that the environment is resilient. Case scenario, some of these cyber attacks that are happening currently in our country, I believe that's a very key thing to take note of. And other than that, I would like to thank you all, cloud enthusiasts, for creating time to join this session and learn a little bit about cloud networks. I would also encourage Sam and Albert to that if we could do more topics, some of the things that Carissa has touched on is, maybe how can we leverage the benefits of using both native resources and, third-party tools, integrating third-party tools with the cloud platform. So, yes, certainly that's it. So thank you so much. And have a blessed night. That's all. What is up?
Thanks. Thank you again. Thank you so much, Martha. Security. So security is the key thing to. It's certainly very important as we build a network that can withstand a lot of issues. So thanks again. And Emmanuel, Carissa, is your hand still up, or you have something, or? I've seen Dominic saying security starts with you. It's okay. Yeah. Be it networks, yeah, be it any other infrastructure, yes, it starts with you. But I hope you guys, I hope to the rest of the audience, I hope we've gotten something from this, gotten good insights in terms of what are the components you should consider. For me, it's about the high availability that Martha talked about in the beginning. So ensuring that you have the redundancy in place for especially critical networking components. So yeah, that's it. And I do hope that next in our next sessions we'll incorporate such things or get more technical into these things, talk about what are the real issues that we're facing in the cloud environments, and through that we'll keep growing a day at a time, a session at a time. Without any further ado, I'd like to wish you guys a great night.